Today is Thursday the 20th of May. I'm in Paris and yesterday I left the Spice Girls permanently.
Without me, they're nothing. I promise.
So where is Ginger Spice? Did Geri Halliwell jump or was she pushed?
There's trouble in Spice World this lunchtime. It's being claimed that Geri Halliwell, Ginger Spice, has left the group.
Is she planning to go solo?
It was the news that shocked the world and left millions of fans brokenhearted.
She's sort of letting the whole country down.
My favourite Spice Girl.
I don't know if she's gonna ever come back.
Geri Halliwell, the Watford-born performer known worldwide as Ginger Spice, left the Spice Girls in May 1998. In just 2 years, the group had reached a level of success in the music industry not seen since the Beatles 3 decades earlier. At the time of Halliwell's departure, they were at their commercial peak, silencing critics while performing their multi-million selling songs live on a sold-out world tour in support of their second album. It marked the culmination of 4 years of relentless work, during which the group ditched 2 managers, achieved the 2 best-selling albums by a female group of all time, released a feature film, and became the world's #1 act. For the group, this should have been the moment to demonstrate that their unity as 5 determined women was real, and that they could, unlike many before them, complete a demanding world tour without serious disruption. Here, we examine the reasons behind Geri's abrupt departure, the events that shaped her decision-making, and the memorabilia that offers the clearest insight into the group members' thoughts and emotions at the time. We trace the resignation step by step and examine the key factors that combined to create one of the most significant shocks in 1990s pop culture. By 1998, the Spice Girls had established themselves as the best-selling girl group in music history. With just 2 albums and 6 singles released in under 2 years, they entered the record books, achieved global dominance, and rewrote the rules of pop success. Many factors contributed to this rise, but central to it was their ability to balance anarchic energy with warmth and humor. A combination that won the devotion of millions of fans worldwide and elevated them to the status of national treasures in Britain. At the heart of their phenomenon was the music itself, carefully crafted pop songs that drew from multiple genres while effortlessly reflecting each member's personality. They represented something new and became the catalyst for a much-needed positive movement following the difficulties of the late 1980s and early 1990s. Audiences watched their ascent from ordinary young women with ambition to a globally dominant musical force and influential brand. An entire generation grew up under their influence, absorbing messages of respect, enjoyment, positivity, and, above all, self-belief. Their mantra, Girl Power, originated with 5 women, but quickly became a broader rallying cry for empowerment, resonating with the LGBT community and those affected by bullying or abuse. What was less understood at the time was that the group had a master plan. Their first 2 years in the spotlight had been broadly mapped out in advance. The albums Spice and Spice World, the feature film, and the culminating world tour were all part of a deliberate strategy. The aim was simple: capture the world, enjoy the experience, and achieve as much as possible within a 2-year window. While the plan did not account for an ending, by early 1998 there were no concrete plans for what would follow September of that year. Contracts were expiring, promotional commitments for the second album and its 4 singles were nearing completion, and the world tour was set to conclude with a major concert at London's Wembley Stadium. While Emma, Mel B, Mel C, and Victoria did not view September 1998 as the end of the Spice Girls, Geri's perspective was markedly different. In her 1999 memoir, If Only, she recalls first raising the possibility of stopping that January during a promotional trip to Australia.
The first sighting of the all-conquering Spice Girls in Melbourne, and the fans and most of Qantas's ground staff turned out to welcome them.
As they passed crowds of screaming fans in a limousine, the conversation turned to the group's plans after the tour. The others discussed the idea of a Spice Girls television series, which appeared more appealing than making a second film. Geri, however, was guided by her instincts, reminding them of their original 2-year plan. Her comment was met with silence, and the conversation soon moved on. Those thoughts resurfaced more clearly on the 3rd of March, as the group traveled by coach from Frankfurt Airport ahead of their next concert in Germany. Having opened the tour in Dublin the previous month and continued on to Zurich, they were now moving deeper into the European leg. As rain streaked the coach windows, the discussion again turned to life after September. Mel B and Victoria spoke of taking a holiday, while Melanie C argued that any break would need to be brief in order to maintain momentum. In her memoir, Geri notes that provisional plans were being discussed to extend the world tour into Asia and Australia. The two Mels also spoke of solo projects, but there was no suggestion of a breakup. The intention was to continue as a group while allowing space for individual pursuits. Staring out at the rain, Geri finally said what she had been holding back. "I'm thinking about not continuing after September." Her comment was met with confusion and disbelief. Geri elaborated that September would be a fitting moment to stop, but while the others were unsettled, they appeared to dismiss it, assuming she was simply having an off day. Ending the group had never crossed their minds, and the idea that Geri might seriously consider it seemed inconceivable. Everything they had achieved had been done together as 5, each member playing a distinct and essential role. Until recently, Geri had remained a constant source of creative energy, contributing ideas for lyrics, costumes, and staging. Her bold image and exuberant personality had been central to the group's rise. From seizing demo tapes and key information when they left their original managers, to forcing open doors that had been closed to new acts, she, alongside Melanie B, was a formidable driving force. She also took a strong interest in the business side of the group, at times frustrating their former manager Simon Fuller by scrutinizing sponsorship deals. In her autobiography, she recalls urging Fuller to negotiate a higher fee from Pepsi ahead of a major global agreement. Many of her strengths were underused while on tour. After Fuller's dismissal in November 1997, she had assumed responsibility for sponsorship matters, but with the group focused on live performances and deliberately scaling back brand partnerships, her role in this area diminished significantly. One of the Spice Girls' final sponsorship launches was scheduled for the 9th of March in Milan, where the group were also due to perform that evening. Aprilia, an Italian motorcycle manufacturer, had partnered with the world's biggest girl group to release a range of Spice Girls branded scooters. The Sonic Spice campaign featured the Spice World era logo on brightly colored scooters and helmets, supported by a wave of promotional materials including postcards, stickers, and bags. A series of Aprilia events across the European leg of the tour required the group to pose with the branded bikes for press photographs. The agreement was designed to sponsor the tour itself, with advertisements appearing in the official tour souvenir program. That evening, as Geri sat in her dressing room at the Fila Forum di Assago, preparing to perform for thousands of Italian fans, she told the others that she had made a final decision. "I am definitely going to leave after Wembley Stadium in September," she said. Victoria asked why. "I've had enough. I just want to finish with a big finale at Wembley." After a long and uneasy silence, Melanie C remarked that it felt like a Robbie Williams moment. "Are you doing a Robbie on us?" she asked. In the Spice Girls, there was no indication, at least at that moment, that anyone wanted Geri to go. She reassured them that she remained fully committed until September, and outwardly the group carried on as normal. Beneath the surface, however, a rift was beginning to form, and Geri sensed that the others felt hurt and let down. Geri had long been the relentless driving force behind the group's rapid ascent, propelled by a bold attitude and a constant awareness that time was limited. Alongside Mel B, she had forced open industry doors and demanded opportunities to be taken seriously. As the oldest member, she had also spent more time reflecting on life and developing an understanding of the entertainment industry's volatility. Her path had been marked by persistence and variety, from glamour modeling and selling watches, to working as an assistant presenter on a Turkish television game show. While Emma had grown up in the industry, and Mel B had left home at 16 to work as a dancer in Blackpool, Geri's route to success had been defined by unpredictability, driven by an unapologetic yet focused pursuit of recognition and achievement. For Geri, the 2-year master plan, which had provided the group with focus and momentum toward the Wembley Stadium finale in September 1998, represented the complete Spice Girls story. By March of that year, it became clear that Geri and the other 4 members were operating under different assumptions about the future. Nothing had been formally agreed, and neither perspective was definitively right or wrong, but their instinctive expectations about life after September came as a shock to each other. This raises an obvious question: why had Geri's view of the group's future diverged so sharply from that of the others? Why did the idea of balancing solo projects alongside continued group activity hold little appeal for her? It largely comes down to interpretation. Autobiographies let public figures share their perspective, sometimes to justify decisions or seek understanding. Nothing in the Spice Girls' history, including Geri's account, suggests deliberate deception on important matters. Aside from early attempts to soften their manufactured origins and rapid rise, they were generally open. Where stories differ, the truth is often somewhere in between, and considering multiple perspectives leads to the most balanced, if not definitive, conclusion. In April, the group returned to Britain for a series of concerts. It was during this period that a photograph emerged of Geri appearing to cry on stage while performing Denying. As part of the choreography, she roller skated across the stage, an element of the performance that had been confined to a single area following concerns that her exuberance was distracting the others. What truly prompted her expression in the image remains unclear. It may have captured a fleeting physical moment, or it may have reflected something more emotional. Either way, speculation in the press about her well-being and the future of the band was rife. The UK leg of the tour took in Glasgow, Manchester, London's Wembley Arena, and Birmingham. At a press conference, the group announced the 4 major stadium shows at Wembley and Sheffield.
I decided to do Wembley Stadium! Yeah. That's it!
Tickets sold rapidly. These concerts were set to close the tour, following a 3-month American leg scheduled to begin in Miami on June 15. By this point, changes in Geri's appearance were becoming increasingly apparent. The blonde streaks and vibrant outfits that had come to define her image were gone. In their place were darker colors and a more subdued, natural ginger hair tone. It was her first significant image change since the group's launch in 1996. In her later autobiography, If Only, Geri would explain that her evolving style reflected a sense of growing older and a discomfort with the persona she had previously embodied. Melanie B. would later note in her 2002 autobiography, Catch a Fire, that Geri's weight fluctuated noticeably during this time, and that she had become quieter and more distant. A live television appearance on TFI Friday in early May appeared, at least on the surface, to contradict these concerns. Geri was affectionate with the group and characteristically energetic during her interview with hosts Chris Evans, whom she was clearly eager to impress. Shortly afterwards, she met with Evans privately to seek career advice. He would remain a significant influence in her life after she left the group.
Have you been reading a lot? You have, haven't you?
I do read a lot, actually, yeah. I'm reading a book at the moment, is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
What's that about then?
It's kind of, you can, if you just, you know, don't worry about anything, you can handle it.
However, subtle shifts in Geri's behavior were becoming harder to ignore. An article published in Top of the Pops magazine in July would later shed light on a revealing evening in late May. With a lengthy American tour approaching, the group agreed to pre-record television performances to promote their next single, Viva Forever. Although the song would not be released until July, filming on the 21st of May was considered an opportunity too important to decline. That evening, the group recorded 2 performances of Viva Forever, as well as a performance of the official World Cup single On Top of the World, a collaboration with Space, Echo and the Bunnymen, an ocean color scene. The magazine noted that the group kept an unusually low profile throughout the studio visit, remaining behind closed dressing room doors, holding serious meetings, restricting access to rehearsals, and politely declining a customary photo shoot. Briefly, they posed backstage in breast cancer charity t-shirts, images that would later take on added poignancy. But their guarded behavior surprised the production team. The article also drew attention to Geri's subdued demeanor and frequent absences. Earlier that day, she had given an interview to The Sun's Victoria Newton at the studio, addressing a teenage breast cancer scare that had recently resurfaced in the press and generated intense media attention. When the performances eventually aired, the contrast was striking. In one, Geri appeared energetic, dancing alongside Melanie C. In the other, she seemed detached, dressed in black, visibly withdrawn, and at one point failing to lip sync. By the 12th of May, the group had returned to touring overseas, completing the European leg with dates in France, Austria, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway. This would be followed by a 10-day break, a charity concert with Luciano Pavarotti in Modena on the 9th of June, and then the start of the American tour just days later. Before that, a brief promotional return to the UK was scheduled for the 27th of May. Viva Forever would be the final single released from the Spice World album, and its success was crucial. In the 1990s, television promotion was vital, and with their previous single Stop peaking at number 2, the group were determined to reclaim the top position. Promoting a release while on tour was never easy, but the return to London was seen as essential. National Lottery Live was among the most watched programs on British television, and a performance on it promised significant exposure. But events would take an unexpected turn.
Hi, we're the Spice Girls, and you're watching Geri.
Just 2 days before the planned lottery appearance, in this press conference in Helsinki on the 25th of May, Geri is noticeably quiet, leaving the vast majority of questions to be answered by the other 4. And soon, the world would find out why. The Spice Girls' 2-year master plan that Geri reminded the group about in Australia back in January would need to be completed with just 4 band members. As the 5 Spice Girls sat on their private jet back to the UK after 2 sold-out concerts in Helsinki, the atmosphere was relaxed. They laughed, joked, and unwound together, unaware that a decision was about to be made, one that would soon alter the course of the group forever.
I remember our conversation. We were all sitting on the plane, we were flying back to England, and we were having such a giggle. And, you know, we were really being silly and having a laugh.
We landed and Geri got up and went, I'm going to say bye, girls. Girls, I'm going to say bye now. And I thought, well, that's really weird. We never say goodbye to each other because we're not, we go home for a couple of hours and we're back together.
The plane touched down at Heathrow shortly after midnight. It was there that the others began to sense something was different. Geri's behavior seemed unusual. Her goodbyes strangely weighted, but exhaustion took over and the group parted ways to get some rest. A demanding day lay ahead. A high-profile appearance on the National Lottery show, followed by an evening flight to Oslo. In her 2001 autobiography, Learning to Fly, Victoria Beckham later recalled how events unfolded. The following morning, as she made her way to the hospital to visit her sister, who had just given birth, her phone rang. On the line was the Spice Girls' lawyer, Andrew Thompson. "Hi, Victoria. Can you talk?" "What is it?" "Geri's leaving the band." "Yeah, right. No, this is serious, Victoria. Geri's leaving the band. She's had enough. She doesn't want to come back." His message was brief but seismic. An emergency meeting was immediately arranged at the Lottery television studio that evening. While Victoria spent the day at the hospital with her sister and newborn niece, the remaining members of the group were desperately trying to reach Geri. Her phone remained switched off. By the time the four girls arrived at the studio and rehearsed their performance, they still had no answers. Eventually, contact was made, but not with Geri herself. Her brother, Max, answered the call. When Geri finally came on the line, the others pleaded with her to explain what was happening and urged her to come back.
I don't think we actually thought that she'd left.
It was all kicking off. There's phone calls here. We were ringing her. Lawyers were ringing us. And we spoke to her on that day. And we were like, "What are you doing, you silly cow? Come on, just come back,
Their efforts were unsuccessful. As the call ended, Max spoke quietly to the group. Geri, he said, was hysterical. "She doesn't seem well," he told them.
Good music, good prize money, and good causes. And tonight we have a super draw with a guaranteed jackpot, £10 million. So spice up your life. It's the midweek National Lottery Draw. Ladies and gentlemen,
With no time left and millions watching, the Spice Girls made the decision to go ahead with the lottery appearance without her. They agreed to say Geri was ill, buying themselves precious time to understand what had just happened.
Give a big welcome to Baby.
As they faced the cameras to promote the home video release of Spice World the movie and their single Viva Forever, they even waved and sent her their best wishes.
Thanks for coming along. It's really nice to see you all, but are we not missing somebody?
We are. Unfortunately, Geri's not very well tonight, so get well soon, Geri.
Get well soon, Geri. I know you've been really busy all
Outwardly, everything was fine. Geri was just unwell. They ended the show with an energetic performance of Spice Up Your Life. Events escalated rapidly that same evening as the remaining four Spice Girls returned to Heathrow, preparing to leave England for their next shows in Oslo. It was there that another shock landed. Their public relations manager, Alan Edwards, called with surprising news. Geri had already been spotted by the press at the same airport, boarding a flight to Paris. Geri later offered her own account of the events in her autobiography. According to her version, Monday 25th had begun with a meeting with Chris Evans to discuss potential career opportunities before she traveled to Helsinki to rejoin the group for that evening's performance. The group's movie Spice World was released on home video that day, with certain retailers offering limited edition tin cases for the video. Geri described the return flight to the UK 2 days later as tense and uncomfortable, claiming that no one spoke and that the atmosphere felt distinctly wrong, a recollection that stood in contrast to those of Emma Bunton, Melanie C., and Victoria Beckham. That night in Helsinki, Geri had been scheduled to record a solo ITN interview discussing her teenage breast cancer scare. With time running out, The interview was tentatively postponed until the next day, where she would record it in the UK. However, upon returning home, Geri learned that the interview had been cancelled after the group failed to give their approval, requesting that she waited until September. Deeply upset, she drove, distraught and hysterical, to her brother Max's house. Later, the pair packed their bags and flew to Paris, checking into the Hotel Le Maurice. It would become Geri's first refuge from the storm unfolding back in Britain. Like the other Spice Girls, she was still a tax exile, meaning she could not remain in the UK for an extended period of time. All 5 girls must leave the country before midnight. Meanwhile, the remaining 4 members pressed on. In Oslo, they presented a united front, waving to fans from a balcony and delivering powerful performances as a new 4-piece. Behind the scenes, however, the transition required urgent adjustments. Vocals were reassigned, choreography reworked, and the shows meticulously reshaped to fit the revised lineup. During this critical period, the group faced yet another blow. As documented in Victoria Beckham's autobiography, their personal assistant, Tor Williamson, announced she was leaving. She insisted she was not departing to work with Geri. Within a week, however, she was doing exactly that, appearing prominently in the 1999 documentary Geri by filmmaker Molly Dineen. That documentary had allegedly begun production just 2 days after Geri had left the group, according to Melanie C.
What Scary Baby Posh and Sporty really want right now is to find Ginger, who's gone missing from the spice rack.
Today is Thursday the 20th of May. I'm in Paris and yesterday I left the Spice Girls permanently. I thought it'd be really good to basically record, life after, right from the beginning, to see, what basically happened. So I'm in Paris with my brother, basically trying to hide from the media.
As the days passed and there was no sign of her, the reality sunk in. Geri was gone. We knew for sure she wasn't coming back when we heard about a documentary she was making with the filmmaker Molly Dineen. She had apparently started filming it just 2 days after she left. Geri clearly had no intention of being a Spice Girl anymore. It was official. The rug had been whipped out from under our feet.
She's ill at the moment. She's very ill. But we want to say, tonight she will be there on stage with us anyway. Her spirit will be there. But tonight's show is going to be very, very interesting. And us all going to work a lot harder to make sure that the Oslo fans get to see what they came for.
Against considerable odds, the Spice Girls held their operation together. It was a testament to the professionalism, discipline, and resilience of the remaining 4 that their work commitments continued with remarkable stability. Despite the chaos of the week, the message was clear. The group was not splitting up. The American tour remained intact. Viva Forever would still be promoted and released. And the band's 2-year master plan, along with its contractual obligations, would be fulfilled, with or without Ginger Spice.
Hi, today is Friday, I can't remember, 29th of May. It's actually Melanie Brown's birthday, ironically. Today I'm feeling really, really anxious and loads of mixed feelings. I don't really know what to think today. I feel quite nervous what the outcome is going to be.
As the Spice Girls set out to prove themselves once more, the media frenzy intensified. Geri was sensationally reported as missing, while the remaining Spice Girls were relentlessly pursued for answers.
There's trouble in Spice World this lunchtime. It's being claimed that Geri Halliwell, Ginger Spice, has left the group.
So where is Ginger Spice? Did Geri Halliwell jump or was she pushed?
Ginger Spice is missing. But is she planning to go solo?
Day after day, they filled the tabloid pages as speculation of Geri's departure, and the scale of the fallout behind it dominated headlines around the world. The world did not have to wait long for the news to be officially confirmed. On Sunday, the 31st of May, the announcement was made.
Geri has asked me to read the following statement, and these are her words. This is a message to the fans. Sadly, I would like to confirm that I have left the Spice Girls. This is because of differences between us. I'm sure the group will continue to be successful, and I wish them all the best. I have no immediate plans. I wish to apologize to all the fans and to thank them and everyone who's been there. Lots of love, Geri. P.S. I'll be back. I have no other comment, but I know Geri is feeling very sad. Thank you.
Alan. Okay, statement on behalf of the Spice Girls. I'm Alan Edwards. We are upset and saddened by Geri's departure, but we are very supportive in whatever she wants to do. The Spice Girls are here to stay. See you at the stadiums. We're sorry to all our fans for having to go through all of this. All our love, Victoria, Emma, Mel C, Mel B. Friendship never ends. And one final thing, if I could add, there's absolutely no problems with the American tour. That is going ahead as planned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all I can say for now.
She's sort of letting the whole country down.
My favourite Spice Girl.
I don't know if she's gonna ever come back.
The news sent shockwaves around the globe. Although rumors had circulated for days, many fans had hoped the reports were another fabrication of the tabloid press, an industry the Spice Girls themselves had often criticized for spreading untruths. This time, however, the speculation was correct. The unease felt by audiences after the group's recent national lottery appearance had been well-founded. Questions immediately followed. At the height of their success, in the middle of a tightly contracted world tour and a major album campaign, why would a global girl power icon walk away? Had there been a falling out? Had the friendships that defined the group been an illusion all along? For the band's young fan base in particular, the moment was confusing, emotional, and deeply unsettling. As the Spice World Tour's staging, equipment, and crew were shipped to Miami, the remaining 4 members took a brief pause to recover and reflect. Geri, meanwhile, relocated to George Michael's home in Saint-Tropez. There, she appeared in carefully staged paparazzi photographs, pensive and withdrawn. These images marked the first public sighting of her since her departure, and aware of how much money they would be worth, photographers raced to capture them. On the 9th of June, the newly reconfigured 4-piece Spice Girls made a powerful return to the stage at the Pavarotti and Friends charity concert in Modena, Italy. Bizarrely, Pavarotti himself had called Geri to encourage her to return for this one-off event. She refused, but that's how much Pavarotti cared. They performed Stop before joining Luciano Pavarotti himself for Viva Forever. Sharing the bill with artists such as Stevie Wonder and Celine Dion was a source of pride for the group, underscoring their determination to continue at the highest level. A press conference was also held, with the band facing an onslaught of questions. They posed for publicity photographs that would soon appear in pop magazines worldwide, becoming the first highly collectible posters of the new lineup. From Modena, the focus shifted west to the United States and Miami, Florida, where the American leg of the Spice World Tour was set to begin. Before the opening concert, the group's schedule remained relentless. They fitted in another press shoot, conducted interviews with local news outlets, and recorded Miami Spice, a television special hosted by Andy Peters. When it aired in the UK, the program premiered the Viva Forever music video, marking a pivotal moment in the group's post-Geri era.
Thank you very much, Andy.
3, 4.
Miami Spice offered the Spice Girls an opportunity to speak directly to their audience, to explain, to reflect, and to reassure the world that the band would go on.
At what point did you think there's something wrong here? One of us isn't happy.
When Geri left, it was a complete shock. We were all very happy. There was no tension within the band. And I think, you know, for us, we were totally shocked.
Did one of you not say to the others, I really don't think she's happy, I don't think there's... No, you just...
No idea at all. She was tired. She was poorly, and that is genuinely, what we thought.
And it got 5 of us to get here, not 4, 5.
But
so you do feel a bit let down, yeah.
The 4 members wished Geri well, but the emotional weight of the moment was unmistakable. Beneath their resolve, the sense of shock and betrayal was visible for all to see. The combination of intense media attention and an enthusiastic U.S. audience ensured the tour began with momentum. The American leg proved to be a major success. It was reported that just 17 tickets were refunded following the announcement of Geri's departure, a striking figure that underlined the group's enduring appeal. The Spice Girls, it seemed, were more than a 5-piece band. They were a cultural movement, and the loss of one member had done little to slow them down. With the world wanting to hear Geri's side of things, she posed for photographs in New York at the end of June for the August issue of Marie Claire magazine, which was just days before her former bandmates would do their first studio shoot without her, also in New York. Geri debuted a new look. She had taken her toned-down appearance a step further, looking fresh and radiant. She didn't discuss her exit in the accompanying interview, instead focusing on body image and the things she had learnt. In an unexpected development at the end of August, Victoria met Geri for dinner in the south of France, an encounter that quickly made newspaper headlines. In her writing, Victoria explained that Geri had invited her and her fiancé, David Beckham, to George Michael's house. Upon arrival, they were told plans had changed and that they would be going out for dinner instead. Victoria described the evening as genuinely pleasant, though she did not reveal whether Geri's abrupt departure from the group was discussed. She did, however, suggest the meeting may have been orchestrated, particularly when paparazzi photographs of the dinner surfaced soon afterwards. On the 16th of September, less than 3 months after leaving the band, Geri made another decisive move. She auctioned off her iconic Spice Girls costumes and awards at Sotheby's.
The last time, 36,200. Geri said it. It's sold!
Her Union Jack dress sold for $45,000, around £36,000. While Geri may never have been sentimental about material possessions, selling such defining artifacts so soon felt pointed. For many observers, it raised an unavoidable question. Was this a declaration of independence, a symbolic break from the group she had left behind?
Fans began arriving mid-afternoon for this, the last date on the Spice Girls World Tour. They could be in for a surprise too. Not only will they get to see baby, scary, posh and sporty, but former Ginger Spice Geri Halliwell is rumoured to be putting in an appearance on stage later.
Please, yes, please. We with Geri back. Geri, come back.
The Spice World Tour concluded with 4 landmark stadium concerts in England, 2 in Sheffield and 2 at London's Wembley Stadium. In doing so, the Spice Girls became the first girl group ever to headline Wembley, cementing their status as a record-breaking live act and adding yet another milestone to their legacy. Yet while the remaining 4 celebrated the greatest concerts of their careers, the moment carried a different emotional weight for Geri. That same evening, Geri was walking through the fields of the farm where she was living, accompanied by documentary filmmaker Molly Deneen.
I read in a Sunday Times paper in this interview, and it said, it quoted Melanie B quote, "Oh, we're stronger than ever since Geri's left. We don't need her anymore." And to be honest, that says it absolutely all. That says absolutely everything. We don't need her anymore.
Deneen's camera quietly captured Geri's reflective and unsettled mood, offering an intimate glimpse of an artist in transition. In a formal farewell to their former bandmate, the Spice Girls soon released a song that had begun life with Geri still involved. Early ideas for the track were developed while she remained a member of the group, but it was later completed by the remaining four, recorded in Nashville, and released in time for Christmas that year. Titled Goodbye, the single sparked widespread speculation that it signaled the end of the Spice Girls themselves. The group were quick to reassure fans that it was not. They described it instead as a goodbye to the past. The song became the first single from their third studio album, Forever, which would be released 2 years later. Beyond Goodbye, the Spice Girls were now beginning to branch out into individual ventures. Both Melanie B and Melanie C released solo singles shortly after the Spice World Tour, marking the first clear shift away from the group's all-consuming schedule. Both Mel B and Victoria Beckham became mums in the spring of 1999, with Mel B giving birth to a daughter, Phoenix, and Victoria having a son, Brooklyn. Having already become a UN ambassador and breast cancer campaigner, in the summer of 1999, Geri returned again, this time as a solo pop star.
Hello, it's me, I'm back.
Still largely estranged from her former bandmates, she began work on her debut album in November 1998 with the production duo Absolute, made up of Andy Watkins and Paul Wilson. Absolute had played a key role in shaping Spice Girls' hits such as Who Do You Think You Are, Too Much, and Stop. The group would never work with the duo again, and there was a growing sense that sides had been chosen.
My kind of manifesto for the album was, look, if this is the last album I ever do, let's take it to the max. Let's not be shy here. It's a big part of me. I wrote a lot of songs when I was with the Spice Girls, and I took whatever I gave to the Spice Girls with me, and I'm hoping my music will appeal to, Spice Girl fans and more. My album is eclectic.
Geri's debut album, Schizophonic, was launched with the single Look at Me, a release that was met with discomfort from the remaining Spice Girls. The accompanying video depicted a funeral for Ginger Spice, complete with a coffin procession and grieving mourners. Although the narrative ultimately revealed that Ginger, draped beneath a Union Jack, was still alive, the band felt the imagery risked causing further distress to their young fan base. Driven by an intense focus on chart success, Geri was determined to reach #1. She had much to prove. Since her departure, the Spice Girls had achieved 3 UK #1 singles. Viva Forever, which still featured her vocals. Melanie B's solo breakthrough I Want You Back. And Goodbye, the group's first release without Geri, which became their third consecutive Christmas #1. Look at Me peaked at #2, a result that reportedly stung, particularly as it was held off the top spot by Boyzone. However, the next 3 singles from Schizophonic all reached #1, earning Geri a record she still holds: the original Spice Girls member with the most solo UK #1 hits. Following Goodbye, the Spice Girls spent much of 1999 focusing on solo projects and their personal lives. 2.5 relentless years as the biggest band in the world had taken a serious toll, with 3 of the original members battling eating disorders. So what does Geri's behavior in the aftermath of her departure really reveal? Was her exit driven by long-held solo ambition? Was she simply exhausted, unwell, and in need of space? Or was it a reaction to unresolved tensions? A moment that galvanized her determination to prove her worth, both to the world and to the band she had left behind. The media response was relentless. British tabloid The Sun captured the moment with a double-sided commemorative poster, one side immortalizing Geri's iconic Union Jack dress at the Brit Awards, the other showing her final Top of the Pops recording with the band on the 21st of May 1998, a single object encapsulating both peak and fracture. By mid-1999, Geri had launched her solo career with the album Schizophonic, while remaining largely disconnected from her former bandmates. The remaining 4 Spice Girls were also pursuing individual projects, but continued to operate as a group. Schizophonic, a 10-track album, presented 2 contrasting sides of Geri's identity, one reflective and restrained, the other provocative and outspoken. The ballad Walk Away stood out as a quiet meditation on leaving the world's biggest pop group and stepping into the unknown alone. Whilst promoting in Canada, Geri rejected the Spice Girls' version of events surrounding her departure the year before.
You know, I'll explain the story of why I left the Spice Girls. It's very important you to understand, you know, I think I owe you all an explanation, is that the bottom line is I was going to leave the Spice Girls at the beginning of the tour. Well, I told the Spice Girls at the beginning of the tour that I was going to leave in September. I wanted to finish the tour, and the girls knew that. They knew I was going to leave at the end of September. And so that's not quite right what they say there. And but then I wasn't allowed to do a breast cancer interview during a few days before I left, and I got very, very angry because I'm meant to be the evangelist of girl power. You know, I mean what I say. It's more than a band. This is about, you know, speaking up and fighting for women. And I felt that I was being challenged and tested in life, and sometimes we are.
Sorry, wouldn't that be in their best interest to have you do that?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not judging anybody. You know, everybody's different, and this is, you know, you've got to understand, I come from a different place, and I was reading a book about it at the time. I've had a lump in my breast myself, so I was, you know, I was very intense about the subject, and I just thought, you know what, I felt like a hypocrite and a liar, and you've got it in life sometimes. As much as I wanted to be on stage, as much as I wanted to come to Canada and America, you know, some things in life are more important than, you've got to get your priorities and your values right. And I thought, you know what, I have to do this. I have to go and speak up about breast cancer. If I can't do that, then I'm a cheat. What I've been talking about to all of you little girls, you know, is worthless unless I can do that. So that's why I left on that day. I was going to leave anyway at September because I think everything has its time frame. You know, I love the Spice Girls. I gave my heart and soul to that group, and I loved it. And we had some great moments together. I'll always care about them.
Later that year, Geri achieved a UK #1 single and quickly sought another. Her third release was scheduled for the same week as Emma Bunton's debut solo single, with Tin Tin Out. What followed became one of the most publicized chart battles in British history. Geri pursued maximum exposure, employing aggressive promotional tactics later discussed by Victoria Beckham and Elton John in the 1999 documentary Victoria's Secrets.
What do you think of Geri's album? Geri Halliwell. Put you on the spot there. Have you spoken to her since?
No.
No? Don't you think that's a shame that you know, after spending all that time together?
It is a shame, but I think that she kind of has turned it into a war in a way. You know, I mean, when they had their singles out together, her and Emma, she did as much as she could, didn't she?
Oh, I know. It was all a big publicity exercise, but isn't that what singles are about? Publicity, I mean...
But the thing is, though, I mean...
if you had a Spice Girls record out and say Boyzone had a new record out the same week, you'd go for it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I wouldn't go to the Sun dressed as a schoolgirl with my...
Unlike me.
...boobs out and talk about my relationship.
Her relationship with television presenter Chris Evans further amplified media attention. That same week, the Spice Girls appeared at a press conference promoting their book Forever Spice.
Do you feel in competition with Geri?
Not
Geri
at all.
single?
I think for me,
Her
I'm
single's
here.
wicked. My girls love it.
I've just really enjoyed the whole process of making music, and that is what is important to me. And for me, the chart position is a bonus. Do you know what I mean? That is what I'm about anyway.
Girls, do you think the Geri stories that have been around in the last couple of days, is that an attempt to get her to #1 and keep you
I
on?
think you have to ask her about that, not us.
Who knows?
Geri ultimately secured the #1 spot, leaving Emma at #2, a result that did little to ease tensions. As the new millennium began, both Geri and the Spice Girls found themselves in court over the Aprilia legal case. The Italian scooter manufacturer claimed Geri's departure had caused significant financial loss and alleged that the group had misrepresented their stability when entering the sponsorship agreement. Both Geri and Emma gave evidence in February 2000. Geri arrived carrying a transparent bag containing a box, a prop from the video for her single Bag It Up, effectively using the court appearance as a promotional moment. The Spice Girls lost the case. Importantly, no legal action had been taken against Geri when she left, and the Spice World Tour promoter did not pursue the group. In practical terms, the Spice Girls' popularity and sales had not suffered directly as a result of Geri's departure. She was able to exit contractual obligations without serious repercussions.
The Spice Girls? Well, they're performing tonight. You know, they're like the Beatles.
In March 2000, the Spice Girls received the Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to Music.
Your home girls, the Spice Girls.
They performed a medley of hits and publicly thanked Geri in their acceptance speeches. As the group took to the stage at Earl's Court, Geri left the arena.
Doesn't matter what anyone else says, it's about the music. Right. Apart from thanking you. And my family. Yeah. We've all got to say a big, big thank you to Geri, because without her, we wouldn't be able to have done this.
Earlier that evening, she had performed her own new single there, and both she and Melanie C were nominated for Best Female Artist. While some reports claimed backstage encounters, these are not referenced in the group's autobiographies. Later that year, the Spice Girls released their third album, Forever. Featuring a distinctly American R&B influenced sound, it marked a clear departure from their earlier work. One of the album's songs, an R&B tinged dance track packed with attitude, is Tell Me Why, in which the group expressed their feelings of anger towards someone who has walked out on them. Geri later wrote in her 2002 autobiography, Just for the Record, that she was a pop artist and had no interest in the musical direction she knew the others wanted to pursue. Writing in their book, Forever Spice, Emma talked of the plans for the third album. One day we all sat down and talked about how we'd been working for such a long time. We came to a point where we said, okay, we definitely want to do another Spice album. But when the tour finishes in September, you never know. We might want to do our own thing for a while. Geri was the first to come to the group and say that she wanted to do her own thing. I remember being absolutely gutted and crying. We said, that's cool, we all want to do that, so it's fine. But I remember feeling upset because I was worried that it might come to the point when she left. The rest of us were quite definite about doing another Spice album, whereas she wasn't. Forever peaked at #2 on the UK album chart, behind Westlife, and failed to match the success of the group's previous albums. By 2003, Geri had reconnected with Victoria Beckham. In the isolating world of celebrity, they found a shared understanding and appeared to put past issues aside. On the 17th of February 2003, all 5 Spice Girls reunited at Victoria's Hertfordshire home, widely referred to as Buckingham Palace. It was the first time they had all been in the same room since the private Helsinki to London flight on the 27th of May 1998. The dynamics had changed. As solo artists, each had experienced new pressures and freedoms. Acting roles, judging panels, and individual ventures emerged, often accompanied by public commentary from former bandmates. Just weeks earlier, Melanie C. had questioned Geri's authority as a judge on Pop Stars, The Rivals.
As well, I went to Orlando and I went and interviewed Liam and Noel Gallagher, and they were saying, well, what right does Geri Halliwell have to kind of comment on pop acts? Does she have the qualifications for this? What's your opinion?
My personal opinion is that I don't think that she does. Right. I don't think she's of a talent. Oh, that was my first day back and I'm being controversial. No, but I don't think she's of a talent to comment on other people's talent. That's my opinion.
According to accounts later published in Heat magazine, the dinner was intended as a nostalgic catch-up. Emma arrived first, followed by Mel B and Mel C. Geri arrived last, having flown in from Los Angeles the previous day. She reportedly apologized for her past behavior, using prompt cards to recall specific incidents, and became emotional as the others reassured her that she was forgiven. The meal was catered, beginning with soup and homemade bread, followed by fish with baby potatoes and vegetables. No plans to work together were discussed, but the group reminisced, listened to their hits, and enjoyed each other's company. Though the evening did not result in a reunion, it marked a turning point. Differences were eased. Years passed quietly. Solo careers faded, public sentiment shifted, and the music industry changed. Then, in 2007, following a partial reunion at the christening of Geri's daughter, discussions about working together began. After persuading Melanie C., by far the most musically successful solo artist of the group, an announcement was scheduled for the 28th of June.
In person for the first time together in 9 years, since Ginger did a bunk in Oslo. Posh, Ginger, sporty, baby, scary, the one and only Spice Girl!
Like, supposing you've ever got divorced and you've fallen in love with your ex-husband again. That's how it feels like to me.
Geri, right, okay.
Great, we love it. She just appreciates the fact we've let her back in.
Yeah.
But we do have
24 hours to
That's
unsign.
why she's a bit up our asses at the moment. But yeah, I'm on my best behaviour.
It was the moment fans had hoped for but scarcely believed possible. All 5 original Spice Girls reunited to announce a world tour and a greatest hits album. 2 new tracks were added, including the charity single headlines, Friendship Never Ends.
I think we're all just happy to be back together and think out of all the girls, it's myself and Geri who probably appreciate being in the group more than anybody. Not because of the music, but literally just on a personal level, about having our friends around us.
I cannot tell you how excited, how proud and joyful I felt to see those girls together.
The tour shattered records across Europe and North America. Though cut short due to Mel B's abusive marriage, it provided a sense of closure for the group and their audience. In 2012, the Spice Girls reunited again for the closing ceremony of the London Olympics. Their performance became the most tweeted moment of the Games and remains the last time all 5 have performed together. In 2018, the group met again at Geri's home to discuss future opportunities. Now firmly established as a legacy act, they had the chance to enjoy group projects as friends while satisfying public demand. A stadium tour followed in 2019 featuring Geri, Emma, Mel B, and Melanie C, selling out 13 stadiums across the UK and Ireland, including Wembley. Victoria Beckham declined to perform but remained creatively involved behind the scenes. At the last show, at London's iconic Wembley Stadium, Geri made a heartfelt apology in front of the fans and her bandmates.
This afternoon, I need to say something very, very important that I should have said a long time ago to Emma, to Melanie, and to the fans, is that I'm sorry. I was just being a brat, and I want to say that it's just so good to be back with the girls that I love and with you lot. Thank you.
Earlier that year, Mel B appeared on Piers Morgan's Life Stories, where she made a revealing confession.
There were rumours that you and Geri were, you know, more than just good friends. You'd had a little dabble. Anything you want to share with the group?
Oh, she had great boobs.
So you did?
Well, not really.
Oh, you clearly did, right? Yes? Come on, your
Why
books.
can't you answer for me?
I don't know anything.
Oh, whatever, honey.
I don't. This is all new to me.
Come on, your book's called Brutally Honest.
Yeah.
You were coming here to be brutally honest.
I am being brutally
But
honest.
did you or didn't you with Geri Halliwell?
Well, what do you consider as doing it or not?
Did you sleep with her?
Yeah, we all slept in a bed together. But not like that, all of us.
Did you sleep with Geri like that? Yes. Really?
She's gonna hate me for this because she's all posh in a country house with her husband. Oh, but it's the past. But it wasn't a thing. It just happened, and we just giggled at it, and that was it.
The comments reignited speculation about her relationship with Geri, which prompted Ginger Spice to make her own official statement, denying the claims and expressing distress at their resurfacing. Despite this, the tour proceeded without visible tension, with Geri and Mel B appearing at ease together. Speculation about the nature of their relationship has persisted for decades. While boundaries were blurred and intimacy openly discussed, no definitive account of a romantic partnership has ever been confirmed. Former husband Jimmy Golzer once suggested their connection was deeper than people realized, a comment widely misinterpreted. At the time of Geri's departure, both she and Mel B were in relationships with their backing dancers. With the band now self-managed following Simon Fuller's departure, personal lives were no longer tightly controlled, contributing to growing separation. Melanie C. later acknowledged that Fuller's role as mediator had been crucial. Without him, tensions between the band's strongest personalities intensified. So, why did Geri leave? The book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, seems to have profoundly influenced her thinking. Not only did she write a song of the same name for her third solo album, Passion, but she left the band shortly after reading it.
Actually, yeah. I'm reading a book at the moment, is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
What's that about then?
It's kind of, you can, if you just, don't worry about anything, you can handle it.
The book encourages courageousness, going for what you want despite the fear it brings. It cannot be pure coincidence that this book had shaped Geri's decision-making at the time. After talking about this on Chris Evans' TFI Fridays show, she held a meeting with him later the same month, just 2 days before she walked out. Could he have encouraged her to leave the band early? Was she asking his advice on how to handle the situation? All accounts agree on one thing: Geri's exit in May was unexpected to the remaining four. There were no arguments on the Helsinki flight. Geri appeared quieter, but nothing more. The breast cancer interview she later cited as the final straw has never been corroborated by the others. In fact, days earlier the group had worn breast cancer awareness t-shirts on top of the pops in solidarity with her cause, and Geri had already been granted a solo interview with The Sun. Was it likely that, when the group had the morning off anyway, they would cancel an interview that was so important to her? Geri wrote that she learned of the cancellation after arriving home in London. Whether she discovered this via email, pager, or other communication method remains unclear, but it is interesting that none of the other members have confirmed the incident.
The story goes that she was going to do, or she wanted to do something to do with breast cancer, but Mel B wouldn't let her in. And I don't know that story. I don't remember any of that.
What is clear is that Geri was exhausted. Footage from her final performances show a withdrawn figure. Years of bulimia, unresolved grief following her father's death, creative redundancy, and the pressures of touring likely converged. Unlike the others, live performance was not her strength. Her contribution had always been conceptual and cultural. Branding, storytelling, instinct.
I'm a Gary Barlow. That's disgusting. He's a serious, very harmless, with loads of rhythm, and writes all the stuff. The brains behind it all. Without me, there's nothing. I promise.
By 1998, sponsorship responsibilities were diminishing, musical directions were shifting toward R&B, and her sense of purpose within the group appeared to be fading. Geri would later admit that, in the days leading up to her departure, she already knew she could not continue.
I remember knowing in my heart, days approaching, that I was going to leave, and there was the song Viva Forever, and I was like standing there and I was thinking, oh my God, this is the last time I'm going to sing this with these girls. I can't do it anymore. I just felt empty, and I'd given them everything I could.
This acknowledgement is perhaps the clearest indication that her exit was not a sudden reaction to events on the 27th of May, but a decision reached in advance. If so, it casts doubt on the claim that the cancellation of a breast cancer interview was the final trigger. Her previously stated intention to leave at the end of the tour in September would have offered a more conventional and comprehensible conclusion. Contractual obligations fulfilled, a sense of achievement intact, and a structured transition into solo work. However, this proposal was not well received by the remaining members. The Spice Girls had been built on the premise of 5 individuals operating as one, and even the suggestion of an eventual departure introduced instability. The idea that one member was already contemplating an exit unsettled the others and undermined the unity they believed defined the group. This is not the only evidence suggesting that a May departure had been planned. On the day Geri left, her brother Max was ready, willing, and able to travel with her to Paris.
So I'm in Paris with my brother.
By Geri's own account, he was an accomplished professional with an established career. The suggestion that he was able to abandon his commitments at a moment's notice to accompany her abroad without prior arrangement raises questions about the spontaneity of the decision. A further indication lies in the resignation of Tor Williamson. Her departure from the Spice Girls organization was announced at precisely the moment the group were holding crisis meetings to redistribute lyrics and responsibilities following Geri's exit. Within a week, Williamson was working alongside Geri. In If Only, it is noted that Williamson appeared unexpectedly as Geri disembarked from a flight at Farnham Airport. The notion that Geri might have hoped, or assumed, that someone would intuitively know when and where she would be landing, and that this person happened to be Tor Williamson, is difficult to sustain. The executive jet touched down at Farnham Airport early on Thursday morning. I had no idea who was coming to meet me. What if nobody turned up? What if the press were waiting? Suddenly, I felt like a little girl lost again. Please, please, someone be there, I whispered. The jet taxied to a stop and a car drove across the tarmac. It parked beside the steps and Tor Williamson, my former PA, stepped out. She had left the Spice Girls only days after I did. We gave each other a hug. I'm here as a friend, said Tor. If you need any help, just ask. I had never doubted Tor. She'd always been there for me. How are you feeling? She asked. Like an outlaw on the run. You're going to have to come out of hiding sometime. I know, but I'm not ready yet. I just want to be somewhere I can feel safe and get my head together. George is in Saint-Tropez. He'll see you there. At the airport, Williamson reportedly told Geri that arrangements had already been made for her to stay at George Michael's house. These actions appear less consistent with those of a concerned friend responding to a crisis, and more indicative of a professional decision already in motion. An employee leaving one role to follow the person she intended to work with next. Years later, standing on the Wembley Stadium stage in 2019, Geri publicly described her younger self as a brat, acknowledging the hurt she had caused and offering an apology to both her bandmates and the fans. Ultimately, the reason for Geri's planned departure after the tour in September appears cumulative rather than singular. Exhaustion, creative misalignment, emotional strain, shifting relationships, and an instinctive need for self-preservation. However, Geri's early exit on the 27th of May appears less upstanding, if the evidence reviewed here is to provide the answers. Let's remind ourselves of the clues. The meeting with Chris Evans 2 days earlier. The strange goodbye as they landed at Heathrow. No recollection of the breast cancer interview by Mel C, and no mention of it by the others. Geri's brother Max being available and able to go to Paris with her on that day. Tor Williamson's shock resignation announcement a day after, then working with Geri within a week. The Molly Dineen documentary allegedly starting production just 2 days later. Geri's admission that she knew of her secret departure days before. Whether Geri's departure was inevitable or preventable is a question history still refuses to answer. But the evidence reviewed here strongly suggests Geri brought her departure plan forward, but kept those plans from her bandmates. It suggests this was not a spare-of-the-moment final straw situation at all. Did she feel guilty about leaving them mid-tour and wanted to avoid a confrontation? Did she want to intentionally harm the other girls by walking out unexpectedly? Or did her exhaustion and feelings of redundancy feel like a weak reason for leaving, so she created the canceled interview story? What is certain is that the Spice Girls story has endured in part not despite its fractures, but because of them. Real friendship does not always move in a straight line. It bends, it pauses, it breaks. But in the case of the Spice Girls, it does not disappear. In full formation or fractured numbers, since their 2007 reunion, the Spice Girls have continued to return, reminding us why they mattered then and why they still do now. Their friendships have endured the unimaginable pressures that the biggest band in the world would have felt, and all the crazy experiences along the way. They have, in so many ways, grown up with us. We have looked on as they explored worthy solo careers, regrouped for incredible reunion tours, and met socially as friends. Their story is inspiring, and Geri's departure, as painful as it was at the time, became part of their legacy and allowed them to show their incredible abilities in strength and resilience. No matter what Geri's motives were for leaving, or how she executed her plan, we must remember that they were all young women just trying to survive as best they could in extreme circumstances. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Spice Girls content if you haven't already. Here's another video you'll probably like, and a playlist to really spice up your day. Until next time, stay spicy.